Hello, welcome to the Nintendo Switch 2 countdown. We are now on week 9, which means there is just 2 weeks left to go until the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, which is crazy to think about. Literally, as I'm recording this, it is 2 weeks and 2 hours until the presentation will begin. I'm very excited for it, and yeah, there's really not much time to wait at all now. It's going to fly by and we'll soon be there. So this week, we've covered pretty much everything we could from Nintendo, all the different series and everything. So now we're going to be talking about the third-party support for Switch 2, what that's going to be like, if there's going to be any unique games for Switch 2, and what kind of games that have already come out and what games are about to come out might come to Switch 2, and the feasibility of it all. So let's get started. So the biggest question is how powerful the Switch 2 is going to be, and therefore how easy it's going to be to port games from other consoles to Switch 2. My hope is that with current third-party games needing to support both the PS5 Pro and the Xbox Series S, that's already a pretty wide range of power. Like, they're similar enough, but it's still quite a wide range. My hope is that the Switch 2 isn't too crazily underpowered compared to the Series S, so that it's not a massive change required to get the game onto the Switch 2. It's definitely not going to be as good. I mean, it's going to be portable and everything, so unless they've got some crazy magic, they are not going to be able to just have it as it is. They do have, or presumably they will have DLSS, which kind of is that crazy magic, or it can be if used correctly. So hopefully with stuff like that and some other modern things that the Switch 2 will presumably have, it will be able to get close to the Series S. And if it is close to the Series S, I think most developers will be porting their games to the Switch 2. Hopefully they do it right and not like the kind of, Mortal Kombat 1? Yeah, Mortal Kombat 1, where apparently, I think it was fine, really, but there were like those screenshots going around of just how bad it looked in some instances with the faces and the eyes, I think, were the particularly bad thing. But the fact that they even did that for the Switch 1, which is considerably less powerful than the PS5 and series, because I don't think Mortal Kombat 1 came out on last-gen consoles. So the fact that they're doing that, I think, yeah, the gap, I'm pretty sure it's going to be less this time. So I do think that the third-party titles are more likely to come to it, and hopefully in a better state than those. But obviously you have to look at The Witcher 3 and Doom titles, which were really well done ports. So if we get more like that, I think we're going to be in for a good time. Thanks to the success of the original Switch, I think every publisher is going to be looking at trying to get their game onto the Switch 2. Obviously, the Switch is looking like it may well end up being the best-selling console of all time. That's not something a publisher is going to try and ignore, unless it is really difficult to get the game onto the platform. Or, obviously like PlayStation, they have done a game on Switch, or I guess a couple if you include MLB The Show. I'm pretty sure that's been to Switch. So yeah, they're pretty much still doing exclusives. I don't think that's going to change. I don't think we're suddenly going to get God of War on Switch 2. But maybe down the line, maybe they'll see it like another part of how they're treating the PC market, where they can kind of entice people to play God of War, whatever the new one will be, by releasing 2018 and Ragnarok on Switch 2. Maybe. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, just thanks to the success, pretty much every other publisher, definitely Microsoft now with Xbox going basically third party, seemingly, at least for now. I think they're all going to be trying to get games onto the Switch 2. If they only have games that technically can't get onto the Switch 2, I think they'll be trying to find another way to make money off the platform, because I don't think Switch 2 is going to do as well as Switch 1. I think most people assume that. But even if it does half as well, that's still a lot of people playing games, and the kind of people that buy a Switch 2 are possibly not the same kind of people who buy a PlayStation and an Xbox. So it is kind of a different, unique market in some ways. Not all of them, obviously. I mean, if you're watching this, you're probably interested in all of it. Might even have both. So yeah, but the more casual market are the type to not buy a PlayStation but might still buy a Switch because it's that more casual friendly seemingly. So yeah, these publishers are going to want to make some money, so either that's going to be through ports or new specific games made for Switch 2, or potentially just ports of older games, like maybe we don't get GTA 6, but maybe GTA 5 finally comes to Switch, like that sort of thing. And of course, smaller scale games, like something like Prince of Persia and The Lost Crown. I think that was made for Switch first, or I think they said it was like the target platform, and then they ported it to other things. And then obviously indies as well might do similar. They're all still going to come to Switch 2. Like, I think all of them would probably come to Switch 1, even if they didn't make a Switch 2, so I don't think anything's going to change there. So as for there being potentially games made specifically for the Switch 2 from third parties, I think there's a few possibilities, but I think that's kind of dying out of third parties making exclusives. Like Square Enix have recently said that they're going to be going full third party on all platforms, like not doing exclusivity because it's hard on their sales. I think that's what a lot of publishers are finding. That can change, of course. It's only recently changed that way, so it could easily change back at some point. But I think for now, that seems to be the way publishers are thinking. So I don't think there's going to be too many third-party Switch exclusives. The exceptions to that being any that are made with Nintendo characters. Like Nintendo aren't going to let a Mario plus Rabbids style game come out on Xbox or PlayStation. And speaking of, I think there's a good chance that Ubisoft will work with Nintendo again on either a Mario plus Rabbids 3 or something along those lines. They did Star Fox with what was that game called? Starlink. They did Star Fox with Starlink, so I think it's possible but unlikely that maybe Nintendo would even get the team behind that. I can't remember what team it was within Ubisoft to make a Star Fox game. That would free Nintendo up to not work on that. So they can make other games while still appeasing the Star Fox fans and potentially making decent money. I'd hope it'd be a smaller scale thing, like simpler graphics. And they were always fairly short campaigns, just make them replayable. I think that could go well. Mario & Rabbids itself, I can see them doing a free. I think they'd be put off potentially by the sales of number 2, but I think it came directly from Eve Guillemot, where Nintendo had apparently told Ubisoft that they should wait for the next console to do Mario plus Rabbids 2, but they didn't listen and they put it out on Switch 1 and then it didn't sell super well. I started playing it, but I do remember being quite disappointed by how it looked. Like, I know that's not a big deal, but I remember thinking it looked great on like YouTube videos and that, and then when I got it, I don't know if it was just not running well or if they'd lowered the resolution or something, but it just didn't seem to look very good. So I'm actually hoping it gets some kind of update for Switch 2 so I can finally get around to playing it. I loved Mario plus Rabbids 1. It's like the only tactic like strategy game. Oh, and Fire Emblem game that I've actually played. It was definitely the first one, and I not only played through it and finished it, I even went through and did got 100%, did all of the got all the special golden weapons or whatever they were. Did the final levels. I think there were 3 final challenging levels that were ridiculous. One of them was you had to fight every boss at the same time. Yeah, they were crazy and really difficult, but I did it because I love the game so much. So yeah, I just can't wait to play 2 finally, hopefully with some updates. I can see them doing some kind of either a port or an update or some kind of these games now play better on Switch 2, even if it's reselling them as a whole new, a bundled game that's a kind of a remake, remaster more so. I can see them doing something like that. Another Ubisoft thing I would love to see, but I don't know how likely it is a Rayman game. There's rumours of that. I think a port of 3 is the current biggest rumour. That would be very cool. That's supposed to be coming to Switch 1. I would love them to make a Rayman 4 or a new 2D game or something specifically for the Switch 2, and then obviously port it to other things at some point, maybe even on day 1. But just make it with Switch 2 in mind, because I think Switch 2 will be a really good platform for the Rayman series. Ubisoft, I think, is one of the 2 main ones that could do something like that. The other one, probably even more so, being Capcom. I think there is a good chance. I think it was kind of rumored for a while on Switch 1 of there being a Resident Evil being made for it, and that didn't seem to happen. So either those rumors were false, which obviously can happen, or maybe they were waiting for Switch 2 to have that bit more power. Like maybe Switch 1 wasn't quite capable of what they wanted to do with it. That'd be really interesting. Maybe it is Revelations free, or if not actually Revelations free, maybe it's, you know, a spiritual successor, like that sort of thing, just a spin-off title. I would really love that. I love Resident Evil. I actually haven't played through Revelations 1 and 2. I got like halfway through 1, so I need to do that at some point. But yeah, just some kind of spin-off Resident Evil would be great. Even if it's not Switch exclusive, I would still like to see that, but just hopefully it comes to Switch. Monster Hunter, I don't know what the deal with that is, but they seem to... there was a deal at one point when Monster Hunter was only coming to Nintendo platforms, like with Tri, and then they did like the Tri Wii U version. There was four Ultimate Generations, I think, all on 3DS. And then Worlds came out, and then they did Rise, and now they've done Wilds. So I'm wondering if there is going to be another kind of, I don't know if spin-off's the right word. I'm not a Monster Hunter, I'm not a like deep Monster Hunter fan. I've kind of started with Worlds, played some of Rise, and now I'm playing quite a lot of Wilds. So I don't know what the deal with that is, but yeah, if there is going to be another one, I can see that still happening. Maybe it does come to other platforms straight away, or at least quicker. I think last time with Rise it was like a year after, but then I think a year after it came to PC, and then another year was for consoles or something like that. So maybe next time it'll be 1 year and then it comes to everything. That'd be interesting. And I think fairly likely, because having played Wilds, it doesn't run great on my PC, which is a pretty decent one. It apparently doesn't run super well on consoles, so I don't think a Switch 2 version is that likely, unless they do just improve it more and more and more, which would be awesome, and I really hope they do. So yeah, maybe instead of getting Wilds, they do have another separate game that's a bit smaller scale and less graphically intensive. To be honest, I would like that, even if it's nothing to do with Switch, but we'll see. As well with Capcom, there's a good chance we'll get something Mega Man related at some point, whether it's, what I think the next one would be 12, I think we're waiting on, or, you know, something brand new, like there was it Legends was a 3D game at some point, something like that. I think there's a good chance we'll get something Mega Man. And Ace Attorney, they seem to be gearing up for the new one. I believe they've now ported every old game and redone it in HD and ported it to every platform under the sun. So I think, yeah, an Ace Attorney 7 or another spin-off or whatever's likely to be next, that could be made predominantly for Switch, or yeah, Switch as the lead platform, or just coming out first for a few months before coming to other platforms. I can see that happening. And then one of the only other ones I can see potentially happening isn't from Capcom or Ubisoft, but Banjo-Kazooie. Obviously it's got the Nintendo legacy, it's now owned by Microsoft. I think if they were to make a Banjo game, I think they'd want to get it on Nintendo Switch straight away. Like, I think it's more likely to sell well on Switch than it is Xbox or even PlayStation. So I think they would probably have that as the goal, at least, even if they don't do the lead platform for it. But the way Xbox are at the moment, I can see it even being lead platform, especially if they're working with a third party. And then it's all of the other games that are already announced, already released, already coming to PS5 and Series X and S, whether we're going to see them or not. Again, quickly with Capcom, got Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, any other titles from them. I think Capcom are going to try and support as much as possible, though I think the only game that's come out from Capcom that isn't likely to come to Switch 2 is Monster Hunter Wilds, just because, like I say, it doesn't run super well, so it might be a challenge for them. But I bet it's one they're looking at the very least, because yeah, it would do very well on Switch 2. I kind of feel like if they were planning that, they would have waited for the Switch 2 to get it out on day one, unless they're hoping people are going to double dip. We'll see. Yeah, Resident Evil, I think all of the games are playable on Switch 1, but it's like cloud versions, so I think they'll be trying to get them as native versions, and I don't think they'll have much of a problem with that. I think all of them have run on previous gen anyway, so I think that should be fine. Ubisoft with the Assassin's Creed games, I don't know. They'll probably be able to do at least up to Valhalla and Mirage, because again, those all came out on previous generations. I don't know about the current one. That's apparently a really good looking game, Shadows, but apparently does run well on like even medium and low end specs PCs, so maybe they'll be able to get that to work. And then obviously there are other things like Splinter Cell, Prince of Persia, Rayman, anything they do, I think they'll be trying to get on Switch 2. That Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake looks like they're trying to make it look as good as possible, so maybe that one will be a bit too much. Possibly the same with the Splinter Cell remake, depending on how far they go with it. We haven't seen anything of that, so it's hard to comment. And then yeah, if they are going to do anything Rayman, I think that's definitely going to come to Switch. Xbox is going to support Switch 2 a lot, I think. They're seemingly getting everything onto PlayStation, and I think that's going to continue with Switch. I think we'll get the Master Chief Collection. I think we'll get this rumored Gears of War collection. I really hope this, because I love Gears of War. The new Fable, I'm less certain of. It looks pretty intense, so that might be something they can't get running. Again, if they're getting it running on Series S, maybe. If it can run at 60 frames 1080p on Series S, I feel like it'll be able to run at least 30 frames on Switch 2. So, and then with DLSS, hopefully that can improve it. So it's not impossible. Forza Horizon, I'm pretty sure will come to Switch 2. Forza Motorsport, I'm less sure of. I just feel like it's not the sort of game people will be that interested to have on Switch 2. But if it's not super difficult to do, why not? And then obviously they've got their recent acquisitions. They've got Bethesda, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, everything. They'll be trying to port as much as possible from those games. Elder Scrolls 6, I doubt will be able to be playable on Switch 2, because by the time that releases, Switch 2 will probably already be a few years old. And the rumor is that Xbox will be getting their new console out soon, so Elder Scrolls 6 could even be like exclusive to that generation. And if that's the case, then yes, definitely not coming to Switch 2. I don't think we're getting any new Fallout soon, but they'll probably try and port 4. Oh, and these remakes that are rumored, the Oblivion remake and Fallout 3 remake, I think they'll be coming to Switch 2. Doom, based on precedent from before with Doom and Doom Eternal, I think the Dark Ages will come to Switch 2. I mean, that's due to release around the same time as Switch 2, or what we're expecting to be around the same time as Switch 2. So it's possible that it'll be a launch title or very close after, maybe. One thing we actually know for certain is Call of Duty. They obviously had that long legal battle of acquiring Activision, and as part of that, they made a contract with Nintendo to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo platforms for 10 years. That hasn't happened yet. So presumably that will be starting this year with whatever Call of Duty title on Switch 2. Or perhaps they'll bring Black Ops 6 as like a launch title for Switch 2, but it feels a bit strange if they're going to be doing another title in, 6 months or so after that? I think less. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. And then they've got the 3D platformers that would do really well on Switch, being Banjo, Spyro, Crash, but whether we're going to get a new game from that, we'll see. It seems like they are working with Toys for Bob on a new Spyro game. And so if that's the case, I'm pretty sure that will come to Switch 2, if not day one, then probably by about a year after that. We've got EA. I think their Star Wars titles that have already come out, like Jedi, Fallen Order, and Survivor. Although Survivor did have a lot of technical issues, but I hope they did spend a lot of time working on that. And they have released previous gen versions, so hopefully that will make it. I imagine they'll release that as like a duology. And then there's this upcoming tactics game. I can imagine that being, I think we're going to be talking about that like middle of next month, so that'll be after the Direct. So maybe they'll be able to actually say, this is running on Switch 2. That'd be really cool. I'm also just, side note, really excited for that. I really like tactical games, and I really like Star Wars, so that could be really awesome. EA are also working on a couple Marvel projects. They're doing Iron Man with the Dead Space remake developers, which I think could be really cool. Again, I think they're supposed to be showing that something off of that at GDC this week. hopefully we'll see some of that. I don't think it's going to be gameplay, but maybe just, here's what Iron Man looks like in our game kind of thing. And I think that's still a few years out. So depending on how that, if they're trying to make it this big budget thing, maybe it won't make it to Switch 2, but if not, then it will. Along the same lines, the Black Panther game that's being made, we know very little about that so far. That's probably even further out. Yeah, we'll see when that comes. They've recently released Split Fiction from Hazelight. I know that's EA Originals, so that's kind of indie, but obviously EA are publishing it, so it's definitely not. I think that'll come to Switch 2. That's perfect for it. Obviously, split screen co-op, if they can get it so each Joy-Con can be used to control the character the whole time, then you've got a way to do co-op right out of the box. So that would be perfect. I can't imagine they're planning to not do that. And then obviously EA have all their sports titles. I think the Switch one has gotten at least like the FIFA, or now it's the EAFC games. But I think they've always kind of been bought version, like they haven't had, I think, Ultimate Team and maybe some other parts of it. And I think they haven't even like updated it each year. I think, is it IGN or somebody has done like release the same review every year, because they've released the same game every year just with the team updates. So hopefully they finally put some more effort into those and actually release proper versions on Switch 2. I think it's about time. And then of course indies, they're going to be supporting Switch 2 because they're going to do really well on Switch 2 like they did with Switch. Difference now obviously is you've got like Steam Deck, which kind of takes away from some of that, so I don't think they'll have quite the indie boom that we had on Switch 1 and Switch 2. But I think they're still going to do really well, and it's going to make sense for every indie game to get their game on Switch 2 if they can. Like I said before, I think every developer, publisher is going to be trying to get their game on Switch 2. The only reason it's not going to come to Switch 2 is if it's physically or technically impossible for them to get it to run. I think some developers are going to release really bulk versions. They're just going to, hardly change anything and just have it running as best as it can and then chuck it out there. And I think that's not going to be a good look. And hopefully those kind of games don't sell well, so then they start putting more effort into it. But yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of third-party stuff on Switch 2. So that'll do it for this week. Next week is the final episode of this countdown, counting down to the Direct, but the week after is going to be the Direct. I'm hoping to react to it and probably do some kind of discussion afterwards. But for next week, I'm going to be doing my actual predictions for what I really think is going to show up in the Direct, as well as my final hope, streams, wishes. If anything comes out in the meantime, I'll discuss that and just kind of cover anything I've not covered so far. So thank you very much for watching this week. I'll see you next week. Bye.